Is anyone here not from Canada? I'm just wondering. Really? Where'd you come from?
States. Not like today, I just...
Oh, no, I meant like no one came, like flew in for the expo, right? Although I'm flying for Billy and Lee and Julie.
Okay. My question is, I've wanted to do serializing a novel for quite a while, but I want to do it right. Do you have any suggestions on how to do it right? Should I do it through blog or how should I do it?
Well, it's tough. It's a really good question. And, you know, Robert Brockway of Cracked, I think he probably did it the right way. His book is called RX, which I'm going to read, but everyone who has read it tells me it's fantastic. But he did it in 3 parts. He released 3 like mini novels for a very inexpensive, like $1.99 on Amazon. And then when that was done, he then released them collected for like, you know, so that each was like $1.99, and then you get them all together $5.99. And he felt that in today's market you could really do that especially if you had an audience online, it made sense to publish online in an ebook, and you would move more copy because you could control your own pricing. You know, I have lots of friends who wrote a novel, and it was, wow, so prestigious, and no one bought it, and it didn't change their life. They made a small amount of money from their initial publication, and they never moved enough copies thereafter to make it worthwhile. So self-publishing is great in that way, and to the extent that there's a stigma still attached to self-publishing, I think that really is waning. What I would say though, and I don't know if this is exactly your question, it's great to write, and it's great to have the ability to self-publish, but you should freelance in addition, because you should always be looking for other opportunities to promote your work. So, I mean, Cracked isn't the only place to let you do this, but you know, you write a column for Cracked, you can, you know, pimp your other stuff at the end of it. So I have a link to my Hate by Numbers video series in every single column I write. I tell people to join the Facebook page for Notes from the Internet Apocalypse in every single column I write. So you should always be thinking of other publishing opportunities that can drive people to your serialized novel. Would be my advice to you. But you know, it might be sense just to publish it in parts on a Tumblr or any other form. Get the feedback from, you know, your close friends who will be the only ones who will read it at first, and then maybe serialize it formally. I sound like a big nerd, but the internet really changed everything, I think, for the better. Is there a question? I think they're trying to be mean to you. They're just picking corners to make you maximize your walking code.
That's the same way I play badminton. I'm coordinating by Twitter.
Wait, were you the one who tweeted that you were going to be here?
Yeah.
I retweeted you, huh?
I have a question about editing.
Yeah, sure.
How manically do you pore over every word? How many times do you go over every column again and again?
So editing is important. And let me ask you, do you mean editing in the sense of like copy editing, proofreading, or like editing like...
No, like that joke isn't funny enough, trying different words. Like
No, I think Adam does that a lot, because the first draft is like... No, it's funny, I edit a lot. I edit like by paragraph. Like I don't write like a whole thing and then write the whole thing again. I like to like basically, whether I'm writing a novel or writing a column, I like to get the paragraph right and then move on to the next one. So you know, every paragraph I write is probably rewritten 3 times, and then when the thing's over, it's probably read through 2 or 3 more times. With novel writing, it's just never over. I read it over and over and over again. I don't usually rewrite jokes very often, though. I mean, that's usually, I have a joke, and that'll like stay. What I have done, especially with crack columns, is read them over and said, oh crap, there's no jokes in here, there's nothing funny in here. I just like snarkily describe 5 factoids, but where was like the joke? I mean, the guy who does not have that problem is, you know, Sean O'Reilly, Sean Baby. I mean, he gives you more jokes per capita, I think, probably than anyone online. It's almost like a vaudevillian. I mean, I have such respect for him, and for that, I've gone back at times and said, this is fine, but I should just find a way to stick 3 more in. Sean's doing it. So sometimes editing like that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, back corner.
So someone over here has to come get a question.
Right, trying to grab you. I'm here with my niece who doesn't want me to say that this is her question, but she's looking to become a writer. She's in high school, and she's just wondering if you have any advice into how to get into freelancing and break into the reading world.
I'm sorry, any advice on how to get...
How to get into freelancing and to get into how to break into the writing world. She's new.
Well, I think, hi, and thank you, and I think you have to be a fan first. So if you're looking to write, it's probably because there are certain sites or publications or novels that you like, and you're drawn to it. And I mean, that's I guess where all this fan fiction comes from, right? And that's fine, and you can hone your skills, and if the whole world goes to hell, you can have a major bestseller for writing your Twilight fan fiction and adding a nomination. I'm going to say my novel is much hotter than 50 Shades of Grey. I haven't read it yet, but I'm just going to have to say it because it's not based on Twilight, so it's based on me, so source material, come on. So, but fan fiction, I was putting 50 Shades of Grey, but I wasn't putting down the notion of fan fiction because that can be great and it can be a great starting point. So the way to do it is see what you like. Look at where the things that make you want to write, where are you reading them? Then what are their submission guidelines? Sometimes if it's online, like I said in the PowerPoint, it's as easy as saying, what do they want from me? Then you see, what do they want from me? How can I give them something in the style that they like? And that's as simple as that. And the next stage is meet like-minded people, right? And again, online, you used to only be able to meet like-minded people in your high school class, or in your college class, or in your hometown. Now, I'm not to tell any of you this, now you've got the whole world, because of the internet, to meet like-minded people. So even if there are only 100 people like you that are dispersed across your entire country, it doesn't even matter. You've got 100 people now who are just like you. And they'll probably be writing too. Where are they publishing? And if they're all self-promoting the way they should, when you follow these people who are self-promoting, you hear about new pieces. And you're like, oh, he's writing for that magazine. I should write for that too. I don't know if you're like this, but I'm a jealous, spiteful, petty person. So when a friend of mine publishes something, I'm like, oh man, what's that? I want to do that too. That's why I started writing online, because I'm a jerk. My friend, who wasn't the English major, published online. I want to do that too. So I'm not that much of a jerk. I'm happy for my friends. That's why I promote their stuff. But the point is, it's inspiring to me. And if you're friends with people who write, you'll be inspired where they write, and you'll have your in through that. Would be my advice. Is there someone maybe outside that could make Cody run for? No, they're probably sure.
You mentioned 2 questions ago, 5 factoids or whatever lists.
Uh-huh.
Why are there so many lists on crap?
Well, again, I have absolutely, yes, I write a column for Cracked every single week, and I've done that, a weekly column for years, and I started doing submissions there 7 years ago. But I'm not holding myself out as, a representative of Cracked. I can only be a representative of the 250 articles I put there. But why I would say that the reason there are so many is because it's successful, and that is what the internet likes. People are lazy, and they like to read a title and only the numbered content, and then they like to pretend and look at the pictures that they've read something. So that's great, so they read it too. But what I will say, I'm not beating up on Cracked in any way, because if you read beyond those points, there's real substance there. And it was not natural for me to write in list form. But what I realized is that I should A, grow up, because it gets bigger market penetration. So if they want to see it in that format, give it to them. But what I realized is essays, you could number an essay. You write a real essay for college, what is it? It's got an introduction, you're going to lay out your thesis statement, you're going to have 3 points to support your thesis statement, and then you're going to have a conclusion. So once I got over that hump of saying, oh, I don't want to write lists, which, believe me, no one dumped on lists more than I did, I realized, well, I can just do that. I'll write about something, I'll make my points, and just number my points. So I wrote about very serious things, like, these are all such American examples, the Ground Zero Mosque, which was a big issue in America, a year ago, 2 years ago. That was an essay. I numbered it, so it's a list. A piece of legislation that Obama signed called NDAA. I wrote about that 2 weeks ago. It's a list. So, it's just what the internet likes. Everyone's copied crack now. You see this list everywhere. But I will say something else about in defense of the crack list. It's almost never the 10 worst something, the 5 greatest that. It's always a twist on it. And so the analysis usually goes deeper. And even though it's in list form, because that's what people can accept, I think they do that format proud.